Hello, everybody. Good day, and welcome to our Christmas edition of Council Checkup. I say that because this is the last Council Checkup we'll have before Christmas. Christmas is just over a week away as we speak. We are the 16th today of December, and once again, I'm here with our esteemed mayor, Blake McCutcheon. Welcome, Blake, once again.
Thank you, Don.
And so we'll get into it. So, since our last visit, anything come up? I know that last night's council meeting was canceled because they're really, everything was sort of winding down. But before anything we need to talk about?
No, like as you said, we canceled last night's meeting just because, it was nothing that was absolutely pressing, and we believed, in the code red, the more we can social distance and the more we can keep apart. So we did make that decision. You know what? It's been an interesting last month, obviously, with the code red. There have been some Zoom meetings and there have been some email meetings, but in general, things have been slower than normal. I guess, there's still things happening. Denis is, I think maybe we talked about this last time, Denis finished up the CN property and we're just tweaking that now because hydro and gas actually has shown up.
Okay, good.
Which is really exciting.
Because last time you were waiting on that.
Yep. Yeah. And so they have now shown up. Actually, I just talked to Denis this morning and they're there, and there's a few things they want different, but he's going to take care of that. Colleen is putting together the disaster package that we're going to send in before the end of the year. So we got to get that.
That would be to recoup.
Yes, all the money. Yes.
The money for the damage the flood did.
Exactly, that's correct. And we're also submitting for the golf course because the golf course had a lot of damage too, and they got under our umbrella, so that's being submitted too.
Okay. Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
and we've heard positive things. I don't, sometimes you're a little nervous about what the government's going to do, but it seems very positive that they're going to respond in a timely manner and that our money will be forthcoming here.
Now, does that include the Park Lake?
No, Park Lake is a separate entity.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, that is still ongoing, and like I said, we're right in the middle of a study right now of Park Lake, and that is a study that's being paid for by EMO. So,
And just to sort of refresh, there are a couple of options that have been kicked around, but we're sort of looking at more from the environmental perspective.
Yes, exactly. The more environmental, and you know what's funny? The last time they were out here, they're not only looking at it from an area of holding water so that. You're right, environmental, but also they're also looking at projections that maybe someday there'll be another drought too. Like, we forget that, right? Like it's been, I grew up on a farm and I always think of my father and the drought years, but
back in the dirty 30s.
Yeah, well, his was the 60s, but
okay.
But interesting that we haven't really seen that cycle, right?
No, we haven't.
But the government of Manitoba, and I'm assuming the government of Canada, has always got that in the back of their head that everything's a big circle here, right? So they are viewing it that way too, as a retention area for water too. So that's interesting.
So, does that have implications for size or simply?
Yeah, no, I think it does. No, I think it does have implications for size. My feeling would be that they are looking at making it bigger.
So going more towards the west?
Yes, going towards the west, because they're basically saying the berms, the existing walls of the lake are over 100 years old. So obviously that's probably going to be an issue. So probably if we are going to do anything of major here, we're probably going to have to rebuild anyhow. So if we're going to rebuild, why not rebuild bigger? So,
well, there's logic to that, isn't there?
Yep. And like I said, it's still early days, and what governments are like. They can sometimes change their mind. But right now, everything we're seeing is very positive. So.
Okay.
So that's good. Otherwise, just the usual day-to-day stuff that's going on inside the office. Marilyn's still working on some stuff with her economic development. You guys, you know what? We talked a little bit about this before. That Denis getting ready. We're underway building the skating rink down at the Flats.
Yes. That's part of something that you shared with us.
Yeah, and that's just something
So we'll talk about that then, because they're working at it, and the warning is, please stay off the ice until it's ready. There will be an opening date announced. Do you think it will be before Christmas?
Yes.
So there will be a date coming. So please, until it's ready, until it's announced, please stay off so they can get the best quality of ice down there they can. The washrooms are going to be closed, though, right?
That's a good question, Don. I don't know that.
Well,
I'm saying yes because of Code Red.
I'm actually.
Oh, you're reading? Oh, sorry. Okay, there you go.
They must remain closed.
Okay, there you go.
And
All
back,
right.
you're right to go back to COVID. Capacity on the ice will be limited, and the numbers will be posted. So it sounds to me like it's a bit of a good neighbor thing. If the number's 12 and there's 12 on there and there's 8 waiting and you've been there already for half an hour, get off. Just make sure other people have their chance to participate. But also proper distancing and still at 2 meter apart.
Yes.
And currently, outdoor gatherings are groups of 5.
Correct.
So if you've got 20 people there must be 4 distinct groups well distanced away from the other groups and also distance within themselves, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but common sense applies to a lot of this stuff, right?
Yeah. And municipal playgrounds are going to be open.
Yep.
All right. Again, staff will open and there's supposed to be signage.
Yes, the signage, I saw it yesterday, so it's going up, yep.
And just another reminder that we've heard countless times, but it's a reminder. A person who resides in a private residence must not permit a person who does not reside in that residence to enter the property or residence. Basically, stick within your household. If they don't live there, they shouldn't be there.
Which is going to make it really difficult at Christmas time, right?
There's no question. And I think we'll sort of do a little bit of a talk on that.
Yeah.
But I do hear that the province has made, Dr. Rusin has said, if you're living in residence, going to school, and the residence closing for Christmas, under those conditions, yes.
Okay.
But otherwise, it's saying, you know what, if you can stay away,
Yeah.
it's all about trying to
I appreciate that.
take that curve.
No, that's right.
And of course, we know that outdoor public place is limited to 5. And then what I really feel bad about is those people who are living alone.
I know.
But they are allowed one other person
one plus
beyond
one,
their
yep.
care.
Yep.
Yeah. But they can't leave to go. So it's a challenge. And what sort of feedback have you been getting from the community in general? I mean, I hear a lot of chit-chat.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what the word is. I think the word is, I guess they just acceptance. I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anybody likes it. I think everybody feels that that they would love to be still participating in some type of Christmas celebration. But I think I get the impression I'm getting is that people are accepting the fact that this is a one-time Christmas, because I think we do see that there is a future out there for us,
Yes.
and that we're just going to have to get through this period and do the best we can. And I mean, I think that's what the average person is saying, right? That I'm not really happy about it, but I know it's something we have to do, and it's going to, as you said, it's going to keep the cases down, and hopefully that hospitals will stay available for empty beds, and it's just something we have to do, Don. I mean, there's nothing to like about it. I mean,
you're quite right.
Yeah.
So in terms of policing, because we hear about different agencies being engaged and policing those health orders. Now, our local RCMP have a role in that too, don't they?
They do. They've actually, and that's, go back to that just quickly for a second. We had the opportunity to get our own bylaw officer. The government was willing to give any municipality money.
Yeah.
We actually did apply for it, but then we just set it off to the side, because that's exactly what we made the decision that we have an extremely competent RCMP force here right in Neepawa. They're fair-minded, and they're quite willing to do what they need to do to keep our community safe. So, yep. I mean, talking to Mark and what's our new boy, Sergeant Argue, I think there was that initial push where they had a lot of inspectors going through the towns, right? And they were coming from all branches. They were coming from public health and just all sorts of different agencies. But I think that's kind of wound down now. I think once people understood the rules, I haven't really heard much at all lately of anything.
So
on.
What would happen is if people had a concern, they would call the police directly?
They would. Yes, you could.
Or is there a number?
Yeah, that's a good question, because we did ask that I would. You know what? I would call the police, and if they're not comfortable with that, they may say call a public health links or something like that. But yeah, I would call.
Because there'd have to, if they called out,
yes,
there'd have to be connection back to
yes.
say, by the way, we got a call in your town for this.
Yeah.
Okay, I was curious. Okay.
I mean, it's difficult. I look at the businesses that are closed, right? I mean, our restaurants are curbside, and good for them to hang in there. Our hairdressers and people like that. I mean, it's a tough time of the year.
Yeah, and I think it's hard because people always look at, well, why is this closed and this isn't?
I know.
Why is this open and this isn't? And it's a struggle because you hear Dr. Roussin every day faithfully. You must have the patience of Job.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Some of the questions are the same questions that are being asked all the time. And I marvel at the man's consistency. But his message is very clear and very simple right from the beginning. It's not an easy position to be in because every day, well, every Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays now, but for a while there, good Lord, every day.
And like I said,
he and that Lynette
Saragusa.
Thank you.
I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I've said it to other people. I mean, the last true pandemic we had was over 100 years ago now, and I mean, the governments just had nothing to fall back on as past practice, right? They just had to make it up as they went along,
and so much has changed since that 100 years in terms of technology, communication, infrastructure, all that kind of stuff. It's certainly pointed out some issues within our healthcare system.
Oh, absolutely. And essential workers.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the outdoors. We started that off with a comment you made about the knee getting that ready. Okay.
Yeah. But if you want to go back to council for a minute, maybe the other thing we could talk about is it went out on Facebook a couple of weeks ago, and it was in the paper last week, and that was the council at our last meeting. We had been presented with the opportunity to look at a new logo for the town of Neepawa.
Oh, okay.
So, you know what? Just a quick. I think a lot of people understand what I'm talking about, but a quick recap. Tourism board over a year ago now went out and created a new logo for the tourism board. And
it was a rebranding.
Yes,
Tourism Manitoba was making that available, and a group in Neepawa said
and
yes.
You see it at the corners of the highway there now, so you've got the color burst above the E, and then you've got the land of plenty under it, and the town Neepawa is different written.
Yeah.
So anyhow, so it was brought to our table, and what they said to us, because they brand right across Canada.
Yes.
So people are going to see where stories take a beautiful turn in BC, New Brunswick. So they wanted to know if the town wanted to be part of that. So we thought, well, maybe. So we looked at it and we said, well, you know what? We would maybe if we were going to move forward, we'd probably like to take a little bit of the past and maybe a little bit of the future here. So we kept the color burst, and then we added the land of plenty under it rather than where stories take a beautiful turn. So those are the two options that were brought to the table. And sorry.
That's okay.
And so we had a discussion at the council at our last meeting, and we made the decision because, I mean, to be quite honest, the council in general is very much, they do like the historical cornucopia and land of plenty, and yet at the end of the day, I mean, this was an opportunity for a new generation to have a different look. So we made a decision at the council table that we would put this out and let the community have feedback on it, because we actually have no written in stone strong position on this. We thought we would let the community just kind of give us feedback.
So okay.
And you know what? We have, through Facebook and through phone calls and through interaction with people in the community, we've had an extremely high percentage of people that want to stay with the historical.
So by that, keeping the cornucopia, keeping land of plenty.
Yeah.
So basically, what I'm gathering is the town's logo, the logo for the town of Neepawa.
That's correct. Yeah.
The indication is community is happy with that. Keep that.
Yep.
That's a recognizable symbol.
Yep.
Tourism Neepawa will have a slightly different brand.
Yep, that's right.
With still the Neepawa, but now it will be where stories take a beautiful turn.
Yep.
And so One should not be confused with the other.
No, and I think at the end of the day, it might be. I think you could view it as a win-win, because you know what, we're gonna be able to keep the history of the town, and you know, you're gonna see it on our letterhead, and you're gonna see it on the front of our town building. You're gonna see it on our town trucks. But you know what? Then the new branding is going to be out there too, coming from the tourist side. So you're going to see a blend of it in the town, right? And yeah, I mean, I'm extremely comfortable with it. The council's going to make the final decision in January, but I mean, we've asked for the community's feedback, and the community's feedback has been very strong and very positive for what we have. So,
well, I think because the community's had an opportunity to feedback, that's where you go from.
Yep, that's exactly what I think so too.
What else are you going to do?
No, that's exactly right. Yeah. And I mean, I'm happy that we were able to do that, because I think sometimes people in the community believe that councils make arbitrary decisions, right?
Yeah.
And we're trying to not be that council, and I'm hoping this is one way where we can show that. So.
Okay. What else with council?
You know what? There's just not anything. I mean, you know, this is the time of year where, you know, the council would be winding up its, you know, I mean, I sit on a lot of boards, the Evergreen Board and the Library Board.
Evergreen Board.
Oh, yes, okay.
Gasifier, where are we at?
Okay, gasifier. Okay, I'm actually sitting on another board now that's actually engaged more with the gasifier. We are now at the stage where we're just getting, of course, nothing's ever simple when it comes to government, so now we have to get it approved. The emissions have to be approved. So you have to get the government to come in now and
test.
Yes.
To make sure it's not
Yes.
exceeding.
Yes. So that's
environmental limits.
that's where we're at now. So of course.
Is it there or is it somewhere else?
It's not there yet.
Okay.
But it's. Yeah.
We started this conversation, ladies and gentlemen, probably well over a year ago,
I know.
guess.
And I've been part of it for 2 years, and
Yeah.
I can't imagine the people that were part of it the 2 years before that. So, yeah. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, once the emissions, but unfortunately emissions take time. They don't work as well when it's 40 below. So it's going to be a process. So.
Okay. And the last time we had good news about the asphalt recycler. It's in place.
Yeah, it's in place.
working.
It worked, yeah. I mean, obviously it's not being used now, but it worked well. And Denis was extremely pleased. And yeah, I think it'll be a big part of our next year.
And so you're getting ready gung-ho for snow clearing if and when we ever get snow?
Yeah, it's been just no winter out there yet, eh? I mean, in terms of snow.
Well, at least we've got a touch of whiteness.
Yes.
Which is always pleasant.
Yeah, especially for Christmas.
Yes.
Otherwise, no. You know what, Don? It's been, I mean, it's just the same old, you know, I mean, people, I mean, same things come to our table all the time, but there's just nothing, you know, I mean, we're hopeful the CN properties moving forward. Yeah, I mean, we're just at that stage right now just before Christmas where everything's kind of winding down and getting ready for a new year. I guess the other thing we could talk about is, you know, this is our budget time, and you do have a piece of paper in there too about that when it comes to the nonprofits. But, you know, this is a time where we're starting to review, and I mean, that is going to be interesting this year, right? Because, you know, because of all the money we had to spend on a disaster this year. I mean, we know it's going to be we believe it's between $500,000 and $600,000, so we're hoping to recoup that. But right now, that's on our books. So, you know what, we're going to have to figure out as we go forward, because, as you know, we're not allowed to deficit, so we're going to have to make that decision here right away.
So I don't have a piece of paper necessarily on the nonprofits.
Well, it was on. It was if you wanted to. Like normally, we ask you to put in if you were looking for a grant.
Oh, you're talking about your community grants.
Which is almost all well, I guess not all nonprofits. But yeah, we did, so you can go ahead with that one.
Oh, okay, so that's the community grant program. Application deadline's being extended to January 31st.
Right, usually you had to have it in by December 31st, but this has been such an exceptional year with the Code Red, and, you know, whether you're the Yellowhead or the curling rink or the Arch Forward, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, and we just want to give them more time.
So well, because some of those have been impacted very directly with COVID.
And I think we're actually going to see people that we haven't dealt with before. I think we're going to see people showing up looking for help.
So you're getting ready and looking at your budget, and are you estimating you'll allot sort of the same amount?
You know what, we don't know. I think we're probably thinking you know, that's a good question, Donna. We think we might have to look at more maybe in some cases. But
just
again,
to cover it, you're not sure who's going to come out of the woodwork.
And how much they're going to actually need.
Yeah, because if you're a club and you're not allowed to gather more than 5, and your club's 15 or 20, then your club probably isn't meeting unless they've gone to Zoom.
But then it's hard for them to do any type of programs to
Yeah.
generate money.
It's
and-
difficult. It's
yeah.
difficult.
So we know that's going to be a big problem, and I think other towns have already acknowledged that too. That's going to be an issue. So yeah, I mean we're quite aware of it, and I mean we're absolutely going to do the best we can, and that's why we've extended it 30 days. So I mean it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough in a lot of these places.
Are we looking at any rate increases
for
going forward?
For property tax?
Yeah.
I mean, it's early days. I would suggest if we could hold, like, what we did last year, the government of Manitoba has assessed everybody at 3% more. We held the line on that, right? We adjusted our taxes so that didn't, and we have just had a quick discussion on that. I would think, we're still going to be right in the middle of COVID still, for another year here. So I'm hoping that we don't have to do anything dramatic.
Yeah, but isn't that
I know.
a bit of a sticky wicket? Because
slippery slope.
if you this year don't do the 3 recommended, next year you don't do the 3.
I know.
And then suddenly you need to. You got a 6% to catch up.
I know.
And I mean that argument's been there that it's better to maybe do a small increase every year.
Yeah.
Just so you don't have a big
I know,
whack.
and I do agree with that. And you know what? That's why you're right. And we had that discussion last year, and we decided, okay, for this year, we're going to hold the line. Don't forget, our tax base is expanding too. Right?
Yes.
We are adding new houses, we're adding new businesses. So, I mean, but you're right. No, that's a discussion that will have to occur at the table. And you're right. That's an extremely good point. And that's
we all got hit with a huge increase in water at one point.
Yeah,
didn't we?
yeah, because they never did anything about it. Yes.
And frankly,
Yeah.
I think, you know what, a little bit here saves a whole whack suddenly. Whoa, 10 years down the line saying you now you need to do this.
Yeah,
going
no, it's
forward.
absolutely right. And I mean, there are people on council that believe exactly that. So yeah, it'll be a discussion we will have.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Anything else going down the pipe? Well, you recently had a sad occurrence with a staff member suddenly passing away.
Yeah, Dwayne Crandall, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was, I mean, he was a young man. I mean, certainly totally unexpected, long-term member of the town, I think 20 years, if I understand correctly, well-known throughout the community. It was just one of those unfortunate where the body gave out, the heart just stopped working, and it's just one of those things. And it's been hard on the town. I mean, I've only been there for 2 years, but I mean, a lot of people have been there for a long period of time, and he's been a big part of Public Works.
Being an impact there.
Yeah, actually, his funeral was just yesterday. But I mean, obviously, in the world we live in, it's a very limited funeral. The town actually went and got in their cars and just did a drive-by at the funeral home,
nice.
just to show respect. And
and it's hard, and of course there be the process of replacing that position.
Right, and again, we're showing respect for that. We're not going to do anything to the new year. We're just going to leave it alone, and it's quiet right now.
Yeah.
But it's been tough.
Yeah.
Like you always think there's a natural timeline in a person's life, and when you go that much earlier, people go, "Whoa, now what's going on here?" Right?
Well, I think it also speaks to the community that is the Public Works group.
Yes.
That they all know each other, lots of job crossover, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and have worked together.
It's small town stuff, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's small town stuff. No, that's a good point.
Speaking of small town, we're not quite that small anymore. Census coming next year.
Yeah,
right?
it'd be interesting to see what that is. I keep saying we're going to be 6,000 people. I guess I'm going to find out whether I'm right or wrong. I think we were 54 or 48. Can't remember.
I think it was
48, maybe.
40. We were 34, went to 46.
Okay. I just can't see how we couldn't be 6,000, but we'll see.
Yeah, lots happening.
Lots happening. And
well, and there'll be more coming in, I suspect, once the COVID travel restrictions are taken off.
Yeah, we still, yourself, we still have a few people coming, not as many, but there are still some.
But there will be we're anticipating a flood once those restrictions, all those people who've been waiting.
Yes.
Will start looking to come, and there's all sorts of ramifications. This is going to have implications for at least another 2 or 3 years in certain things. But people will be excited to be able to do things they haven't been able to
I
do
know.
for a while.
Who knew that we would miss? Yeah, I mean, whoever thought we wouldn't have the life that we had, right? I mean, it's just.
Well, you become, I guess it's been a pretty impactful wake-up call. All the people dying. In fact, and as Dr. Rusin says these are Manitobans. These aren't numbers.
No, they're not.
These
numbers,
are real
no.
people.
No, these are real people with real lives and real histories. And
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I agree 100% with you.
I noticed that one of the things you left with me, we now have that new communication system
Yes.
in place that we won't recognize any difference.
Right. I think it's another 30. You have to apply for it though, right? You can't just, your old one won't work. You actually have to, like you can't just say, oh, I'm on code red now and it's just it'll just automatically sync into that. You actually have to.
So this is that Connect Neepawa?
Yes.
So that's replacing our code red.
Yes.
And you have to have registered.
Yes.
And you simply go to neepawa.ca/connect, and it's very simple. And you can register other members of your family, and simply what it does is it does the same thing as a code red. Gives you emergency alerts.
Yeah.
But you'll no longer get a code red.
Yeah. It's just a different system. We think it's more workable, and it just seemed to be a better system. So yeah.
So, and I think it just got tried out recently.
Yes, I
think I heard my phone go bananas.
Yes, yeah, I think it was too.
So if you being a code red user, you need to recognize that it has changed for Neepawa, so you won't get code red flashes. So you just go to www.neepawa.ca/connect. Just register up. That's the system, and it's called Neepawa Connect. So please. All sorts of things can happen. Tornadoes, floods, all that kind of stuff. And this is the system that would alert you to that.
Yep.
Okay. How are things going with the bicycle park? Lots of use?
I be honest, I haven't heard too much about it lately, but I know that it was very successful this fall. I would suggest with the nice weather, we've still got a lot of people out there walking. I'm not sure whether the bikes are being used. I know a lot of the really enthusiasts, they go to the fat bikes now with the wide tires, and that seems to work extremely well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean it's been a pretty spectacular thing.
We've got a pretty strong bicycling contingent here in town.
Yep.
And lots of young kids, and it's a great place for close for people to take their children to.
No, that's absolutely correct.
Now, speaking of gifts, the town of Neepawa is having an initiative and saying, how about a 2021 pass to the Neepawa swimming pool at 2020 rates? And how to do it? It's easy. Simply email or call. Let them know what pass you would like. That's the town. They'll prepare a gift certificate for you to wrap up. You pay the person at the town office. You get your gift certificate. And the recipient, the person you're giving the gift to, will receive the applicable pass next season at the pool. Have a happy swimmer in 2021. That's a very interesting initiative.
Yeah, I thought it was a good idea. That was, why not, right? I mean, it's difficult. I mean, most stores you can't go into to buy a present, right? So this is something that a lot of people.
You're having to do it virtually. What I'm interested in is I'm a lap swimmer, and I don't see that on there.
You'll have to talk to Jody Baker.
I'll have a little chat with Jody to see, because I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
It's an incentive. Get them now. Give it as a gift certificate. People are going to go, so that's really quite good.
Yeah.
Town councils are noted for the procedural aspect of everything. Things need to be dealt with by resolution.
Correct.
And that kind of stuff. And I have a resolution here that I've just been given that's actually been passed. It was moved by Councillor Parrott and seconded by Councillor Pudlow. Whereas Santa Claus, herein after referred to as Santa, delivers presents to many good children throughout the town of Neepawa on the eve of December 24th into the early hours of December 25th annually. And whereas Santa's services are deemed essential by the town of Neepawa, and whereas Santa has spoken with town council and various healthcare professionals to determine a plan for best practices for his annual deliveries, and whereas Santa has been self-quarantining with Mrs. Claus, his reindeer, and all the elves, and, good Lord, whereas Santa has followed all public health orders recommended by Dr. Rusin, and whereas there have been no cases of COVID-19 at Santa's workshop and no travel to or from his workshop has occurred, now therefore be it resolved that Santa may enter the home of any child on his nice list who may reside in the town of Neepawa to deliver presents, provided that all children in the home are asleep in order to ensure proper physical distancing, and all children listen to their families regarding COVID-19 protocols in the lead up to December 24th in order to ensure the safety of Santa, and it was a unanimous vote. Signed off by our mayor, Blake McCutcheon.
So now
now we know Santa's going to come. There's no restrictions.
And now you know the resolutions I read at every meeting, how many whereases there are in them.
Good Lord.
Good Lord is right.
That's a lot. Actually, that's quite nice, because we've lost all those things.
I know.
Christmas wish sale. We've had Santa Claus would always be the parade with Santa Claus.
I know.
Usually a free movie at the Roxy, all that kind of thing.
I know.
It's been a very non-traditional Christmas.
Yep.
But for many of us, we have managed to stay fairly safe and COVID-free.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's something maybe we should mention too, is, I mean, the mental health lines are out there, because I know that depression is a time of year for some people in our community, and especially this year with COVID. So you know what, if you are struggling, I mean, we have it on our webpage, and I mean, it's just a reality,
well, I think some
right?
of the ministerial as well are having blue Christmas services.
Yes, they are, yeah.
To deal with it, because that's quite true. Have you had many situations from calling the town or people asking for help?
We just hear it more from Mark Morehouse, right? When he comes in to kind of update us, he said that has become a big part of their day-to-day business.
Is responding to people who are in
in stress, just under stress. Yep.
Well, and we're seeing it all over, and I think one of the big challenges, and we have chatted about this before, is the unknown.
Yes.
And the unpredictability.
Yep.
And suddenly, bang, orders come in. And one of the largest stressors I see within a community, especially a community with a lot of children, which we have become,
yes,
is the whole thing around school. Open, not open, partly open, at home, in person. The province took a stand initially to reopen schools, which I think everybody, parents and students, were all happy with.
No, I agree.
Most of them were. Some
no, I agree, and you didn't have to. You could pull them back.
Yeah. But so that's helped. But now we have this 2-week moratorium.
Yep.
After Christmas, hoping that everything going back. We're hearing a lot. People, this is great. We're handling these Zoom calls, and you can get information.
Yes.
And you can get together in a virtual sense, and that has been a godsend, literally, for many. But they're all saying, we'd like to be in person.
No, I agree. And like I said, I have a daughter that teaches, and I have people on council that very much of the education system too, and it's been a struggle, right? As you say, the rules are changing, and there's always a new initiative, and it's been tough. But I think they've adapted really well, and you've got to give them a lot of respect.
Well, I think when you hear so much about COVID, you look at the world scale, you look at an international scale, you look at a neighbor scale like the United States, and then you look at your country, and then your province, and then your locale.
Yep.
You see, there's so many differences, and yet the numbers are going crazy everywhere.
Yep.
The United States is just wow.
Yeah, no, wow was right.
It's really sad. Hopefully there'll be some now with the vaccine, and perhaps a new administrative body might take a look at things.
It brings a new face and maybe a new direction, eh? Yep.
Yeah. And here, we've had a lot of interesting things in the news. We haven't seen it here, but in other jurisdictions, the anti-masks campaign.
Yeah, I know, it's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, you're right. We've stayed very, it's interesting. This part of the world has been very, I mean, it doesn't seem to have been an issue here at all, right? That's interesting how...
I'd be curious to know how in compliance with the health orders generally we've been.
I think pretty good. Like they don't actually, they don't show you region by region what the fines are, right? Yeah. But I think in general, I mean, you're always going to get the occasional person that believes it's their right to do what they want. But in the world we're living in, then they're going to have to also accept the fact that they may have to pay a fine.
So the fines are provincially established,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
And do you have any sense of people being fined here?
Yeah, not in. I don't know in our community. It doesn't break it down that way.
Okay.
But I mean, you've probably seen the same numbers that I see, that they're generating about $80,000 to $100,000 worth of fines in a 2-week period throughout the province.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a fair amount.
No, it's a fair
given
amount,
that
yeah,
the fines
yeah.
are what, $1,200?
Well,
or something?
that's the 3 levels, right? You've got the mask one, which is basically $300. And
Okay.
then you've got the individual one. If you were an individual proprietorship, that's $1,300 rounding. And then you got the $5,000 one.
Okay, well, that's
So,
still.
yeah, but you start sweeping into like some of the churches down in southern Manitoba that made a decision that so there was multiple fines went into that one on people and on the church itself. And I mean,
Well, there's the big one in Winnipeg too. That
Yes.
Springs. That,
Yeah, yeah.
went to court and found that it wasn't against the Constitution.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I think it's been going down. Like, I think we've seen 3 times now where they've shown how much money they've collected over that period of time, and each time it's got less.
Okay.
And I think that's kind of what they were saying too, that they believe that people are starting to be compliant, right?
Well, once the decision was made, and
Yeah.
I did not like the decision about Christmas, but they made it early enough so it
Yeah.
wasn't people got right close
I
to
know.
to the edge.
I know.
And I mean, we had family that had to cancel,
I know.
change plane tickets
Yep.
because they were booked.
I
but
know.
It at least gave enough time for that
Yep.
because clearly they're not going to be coming home for
Yep.
Christmas.
But like I said, at least now, as you said, with the vaccine, I mean, I never thought we'd see it this quick. I never
Yeah,
thought
people
we'd
were speculating it could
Yeah.
be a year or two
I
before the
know.
vaccine.
I mean,
But
now
holy
you
cow.
have to
Suddenly
do-
we got 4 or 5. Boom, 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 boom.
Now you have to give
being
extreme
ready.
credit. So I mean, that it's pretty spectacular, but it also gives hope to people that at least now we've got something in front of us to say, well, maybe it's not summer, maybe it's next fall, maybe it's this time. We don't know, but we know it's coming.
Well, and actually it has landed and they're starting to roll out.
Yep, yep.
It would just be it'll be 6 months before everybody who wants or needs a
Yes.
vaccine
Yep.
has it.
Yep, I agree with
It's
that.
going to take time.
Yeah, it's going to take time. Yeah, they were interviewing that doctor in Winnipeg this morning. He was the first one that got
Yeah.
it, right? And yeah, that's pretty amazing, eh? I mean,
Yeah.
March till now, right? That's a pretty spectacular timeline to be rolling out a vaccine.
Well, yes, I was speaking with one of staff in our office. Their grandmother is still in their home country, and she got
She did, eh?
vaccinated because she's I think 93.
Okay, good for her.
And so it's kind of interesting when it hits home like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
close to home.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's interesting. As a council, I mean, there's not, really this, we don't have any input into that at all. I mean, all we can do is try to manage our own community and try to, keep our community safe and as secure as we can. I'll always go back to High Life and say, you know what, for a town that is built on such a huge employer, and for us to be relatively so low in numbers, active cases or even overall cases in what we call the White Mud District, I mean, it's been pretty spectacular. And I give full credit not only to High Life but to our community. I mean, for us to stand up strong and
I think you're right. There's no question High Life has taken a very aggressive, very controlled approach to this, and as a result did not fall prey to what happened in the large processing operations in Alberta and Ontario,
Quebec,
that just got hit.
even Maple Leaf and
hard.
Brandon got some, and I mean,
So while there may have been the control has been kudos to them, and I guess to the community as well. I mean, I know for a fact that there are people who have not followed.
Yep.
You hear that.
Yeah, you do.
But so it's that's been good. I have a question. We talk about safety. It made me think. One time when we had Sergeant Mark Morehouse here, he was talking about our number 16 that goes through.
Yes.
And that inside lane is not a passing lane.
You're talking about Tim Hortons there. Is that where you're talking
Well,
about?
I'm talking about as you go down. As you go down, you come down from the hill. You're coming up. There's 2 lanes of traffic, right? The inside lane is not supposed to be a passing lane, apparently.
Okay. All right. And that's probably, okay, I didn't know that, Don. I thought, okay, so you're
Okay,
saying, okay.
so I got thinking about it, and then I think maybe I need clarity because I'm sure he said that's not a blasting lane, and we can ticket you.
Okay.
But
We need to find that out.
well, and also if that is the case, frankly, I think it should be signed because I believe very few people would know that. I know I was surprised when
Yeah,
you
no,
mentioned it, so maybe we should confirm
yeah,
that.
no, I will confirm that
Because
because
that's a safety thing too, because people are always passing.
Well, yeah, if you got a big semi or something and he's going chug chug, yeah, you're
Yeah.
gonna, yeah, okay, no, that's good. Oh, I will definitely find
Yeah.
that out. Okay, no, didn't know that.
No, I was just curious. So, in council, you're moving into a new year,
Yep.
and what are your thoughts for 2021? What would you like to see happen?
Okay, well, I mean, it's interesting, right? I had a discussion with a group by Zoom not too long ago, and it was funny. I said, you know what? It's hard to believe that we've been sitting at the table, that we're now in our third year, and I would suggest my goalposts have definitely moved from when I first came on council. I mean, I think a lot of us ran for certain reasons, whether it be communication, streets, flats, recreational activities. But I would suggest now that I've been in this for as long as I have and have a better understanding of our community and where we're heading, I think housing has become, to me, one of the most important things this council needs to stay engaged with.
So, what are your options?
Well, our options are we've been trying to engage High Life, and I think because of the new ownership, I think we are in the path. I think High Life is starting to understand that if they want to grow and get bigger, they're going to have to become part of our solution. I'm not sure what that will be, but I think they are starting to.
He's part of the process.
Yeah, part of the process, yep.
Yeah.
And of course, our CN property is, that's 46 lots there. I mean, there are other developments in this town that are being looked at, whether it be on the old Murray property or the old Home Hardware property. I mean, those are empty lots, and I mean, there has been some tire kicking on stuff like that. I really believe we're still just on that bubble, that over the next couple of years, we're going to see a huge growth spurt here in housing accommodation.
One of the things we need is some reasonable rental accommodations
Yep.
for people transitioning between the two.
Absolutely. And
people moving in aren't always looking for housing right
No.
away. They can't afford it,
No.
but they need decent rental.
Yep, that's exactly right. And hopefully, you know what, I mean, and it's not a big number, but even if you can get those 46 lots developed at CN, even if you put an average, you're probably going to get about 300 people out there. I mean, that definitely, hopefully, will take a little bit of stress off,
But where else in town is there left to develop? It's small little parcel lots here and there maybe, but in terms of the overall land size.
You know what I said again when I was talking about it, I said, you know what, the council's position has been to try to form partnerships. There are people that own land in our surrounding areas, and they are looking at perhaps development, but we've been trying to sit down at the table with them and come with a partnership with them, right? Because what's the other option? The other option is you start looking at annexing, expropriating, and those things become ugly, and they're very they'll go over a long period of time. So the position we're taking right now is to try to form partnerships with people that have land and land that they're looking at developing.
Are there many of those around?
There's actually more than you think, and I mean, it has to stay
interesting.
it has to stay
I appreciate the confidentiality bit.
But yeah, no, it is.
Oh, that's interesting because I wouldn't have thought that.
Yeah,
For some reason, I don't know why.
Well, people are starting to understand that we are a community of growth.
Speaking of understanding that we're a community of growth, how do you see, what sort of feedback are you getting from your fellow communities of similar size and ilk? What are some of their needs, or how are we faring?
Like who are we talking about, Don? Like you're saying, like Minnedosa? Or?
Well, Minnedosa, Morden, all of those, different.
Well, I think again we're well positioned in the fact that we have the lagoon.
Yeah.
We're getting ready to do our new reservoir, which is going to be, give us the ability to have another 2 million liters of water. So we're very well positioned there. So I would think, in lots of respects, we are probably at one of the leaders in that in small communities, right? Because a lot of the other communities are, and you know what? Even the Premier talked about the other day. He actually talked about that situation down in southern Manitoba with Morden and Winkler in that area. And he was, of course, our Premier. He's not always he's quite willing to say that maybe it wasn't completely his fault. So, but anyhow, so he's just saying that those are huge issues and they need to get resolved, right? And down there, it's multi-layers of government that just can't seem to get together at the table. So, we're very lucky up here how this has unfolded. And you know what? At the end of the day, over half of our money that's going into the lagoons and the reservoirs has been money outside the town of Neepawa. It's not taxpayers' dollars, right? Well, it is, but it's just not our local taxpayers.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
So no, we're very fortunate that way. I mean, I think, like I said, I really think, I have a high degree of confidence that our new ownership at High Life is going to engage.
With the community.
Yeah, I really think they are, and I don't think I'm speaking out of turn when I say that, because I've talked to a couple of them, and I think they understand the restrictions that are occurring in this town, where the accommodations are so tough, and where people can live and where they can't live, and the kind of living conditions they're living under. So I think over the next couple of years we're going to see some pretty spectacular things. That would be my hope and my belief.
Well, that's exciting news for us. Now, along the chicken run, Gladstone, Neepawa, and Minnedosa.
Okay.
We know Gladstone certainly has had some really significant impact in terms of growth and that through secondary migration. Do you have any sense of how Minnedosa is
I don't
doing?
think as much. I think I don't. Yeah, because again, they're kind of like us in the sense that they don't really have any place to grow to. Like they don't have any land developed right now either. They have been talking, but it hasn't occurred. So again, it's just filling up the existing housing that they have, and I think that's pretty tight there too.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, and I think Gladstone is getting pretty tight too. So yeah.
Well, yes, there was a need there, and it's been certainly responded to.
No, I would suggest that is, like I said, I didn't know that, and I mean, it doesn't mean we haven't given up on our other ideas. I mean, Denis is actually putting a budget together right now that shows what we could do for streets. Like, we're going to have to go ahead and do the streets in our new development, and then of course as you pull out of there, does that mean you're going down Davidson or maybe Hamilton? We're still looking at spending money on our streets and at the flats. I mean, we're already in talking to people that build tennis courts and things like that.
Yeah.
It's not off the table. I mean, all these things are being discussed, and we definitely understand what the community wants. But it's always going to come back to the budget and to money, right?
And to time, yeah. So has our tax base increased that much?
You know what? It's been relatively significant. I mean, it's your businesses that really create the money, right? Housing's important too, but I mean, yeah, it's growing. Yep.
Well, and businesses depend on doing good business, and COVID's been a little bit of a stick in the mud for that, hasn't it?
Yeah, which is unfortunate, right?
Yeah.
I know. No, and you're right. It's a two-sided coin. You're right.
So you're 2 years into your mandate.
Yep.
And if you were to rate overall how you think you've been doing out of 10, where would you putting you on the spot, not holding you to it. This is speculation, but I'm just curious.
I don't know if I'd use a rating number. I guess what I would say is that I think
that's a politician speaking, by the way.
I don't think I appreciated how different it was sitting on an elected council that is based on taxpayers' money. Like, it's a different world whether you own your own business or whether you're sitting on a volunteer board. This is a completely different animal. And, and in our particular case with our council, I mean, 5 of us are brand spanking new, right? We've only been there for 2 years. And I think, and we were told that when we came in that you guys, it's going to take you a little while to adapt. And of course, you're at an age where you think, that's not true, but it has been true. So I would suggest over the first 2 years, we've learned how to get our feet under us and to have a good understanding of administration and kind of how you're viewed in the community by the people that voted you in. So yeah, I would suggest we are right where we need to be now to do very well over the next 2 years.
Okay.
That's what I think. Like
right.
I really think that everybody has a little bit of confidence now. They have a feeling that we have a pretty good understanding. Yeah.
So going back to some of the platforms that you talked about, because you talked about this council coming in on certain platforms, transparency or communication.
Yep.
How do you feel what inroads, or how do you feel you're doing?
Well,
in
I
that
think
regard?
we've done extremely well on that, but again, I mean, that's from my side of the glass, right? So I'm not sure whether that's how the community sees it, but I feel that. I think we've done a good job. I don't think there's anything that I can't think of anything that we've tried to put forward or disguise, and anything that we're doing at the council table. I mean, we're on NAC TV, and nothing gets done without 3 motions. And in the community, I mean, I think we've always tried to get a feel for what people want. So yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with that. Like I said, I've said it lots of times sitting here. I'm disappointed. That we haven't been able to do more on the streets, but I didn't realize how much of our tax dollars were going into lagoons and CN properties, and I mean, these are things we just need to build. And I mean,
those are infrastructure things. And I must admit, until I started having these conversations, I see what I see in terms of the streets. It's visible. I see it every day.
Yep.
But I don't think about the lagoon situation or the reservoir and the importance of the infrastructure in some of these things.
And eventually that will come back to benefit us, right? Because once the new housing gets built, and once we maybe attract another industry and tax base grows, I mean, eventually the streets will get done, but it's just not going to be on the timeline, I thought.
And the thing is too, if we really for 70 years didn't change in population.
Right.
It was very consistent, very stable, and suddenly wham.
Yeah, wham is right.
Boom, we're growing at a hugely exponential rate.
Yeah.
And that's a tax on our infrastructure.
Yes.
Roads are getting used more.
Yes.
I mean, no longer can you come to the corner of 3rd and 16 and stop with your blinker on, look left, look right, and turn left. You now have to maybe wait 2 minutes.
I know, exactly. It's a different world, isn't it?
Totally. And so our streets are getting used more, therefore more roughage on them, more need for repair.
Yeah.
So that's certainly a thing we've seen, and other stuff. So, and you've had to do some bylaws and some things regarding properties and
that's right. And we're cleaning some of that stuff up right now too. As you say, we're a town that does more infill housing than lots of other communities, and it has created some water issues for people. And we have created a bylaw to deal with that, and it's allowed Jeff on the planning board to have a lot more teeth, and just not on infill housing, it's on any new housing now too that comes forward. There is a much higher sense of Jeff being able to say, this is what you need to do, and this isn't a negotiation anymore, this is what you have to do. And we do like that.
So there are much more there are stricter
and more black and white
right?
Yeah, this is what you have to do. And and I mean, Jeff's still fair-minded about it, but at least it gives him the opportunity to do what he needs to do. And the garbage, we did that this year. We did and I think in general, we had a little bit of pushback at the beginning, but from my personal point of view, I'm very happy with it.
I'm waiting for you to put a compost.
I know, and that is down the road. You're right. That is part of the plan.
Because I frankly, it's working very well.
Yeah.
The system seems to be, with the cart system, seems to be pretty smooth.
Like we've had a few breakdowns on the trucks, and we have addressed that. We did have a talk with OSS saying, we pay you a pretty substantial amount of money, and we would hope that that's not going to become a common occurrence. And they addressed it very quickly, saying absolutely. And because we did have a few times in there where people just didn't get their pickup done in a timely manner, and
Yes. There being 1 or 2, but trucks do break down.
Yeah, they do break down.
How often is that contract up for your
5
renewal?
years. It's a 5-year contract.
It's a 5-year contract. So
we're just in our first year. We're just coming up on the end of our first year.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, a first-year contract.
Yeah. So I think it was in March or April, maybe. I can't remember. But it's
right.
about,
It seems to me, for some reason, it seems like it was longer.
No.
So I certainly, people understand the routine. Stuff's out in the streets. Sometimes you need to. Word of caution: make sure you check to see if your goods have actually been emptied before you take them back.
Yeah, that's a good
And then
point.
find out an hour later the truck comes down and your cart isn't there.
I know. Yeah, personal experience?
Yeah. Yes, somebody in our household. I won't name names to protect the innocent, but it's just one of the. But it certainly has been a useful.
Yeah.
And I'd say the compost one would be
Yeah.
a very good thing.
So I
as
think
well.
that worked out well. Yeah, no, I think
Yeah.
so. And again, like I said, I think it was well discussed, and everybody had a chance to have input on it. And yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly what councils are supposed to do. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, we are growing, but at the end of the day, we're still
Yeah.
a small town too,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yes.
you know, when you walk down the street, there's a vast number of people
Yeah.
you still know, and
and or seen or familiar faces on a regular basis. Quick question: any further aftermath from the decision regarding the cemetery? This is the first, the summer.
no, I think it's gone well. Like because of COVID, we've had a lot of people out walking, and the cemetery is a great place to walk. So
Yeah.
the feedback we've had from people is,
Yeah.
they think they thought it looked great this year, and I mean, we are starting to move forward with taking down some of the older trees that
Yeah.
have been there, and but we're getting ready to. We're putting in a lot of new ones, and we've started the leveling of the ground there to try to get it to looking pretty pristine. No, we've had, it's been very positive, Don.
Well, and I would say that's one thing COVID has done. Apparently, natural Christmas tree sales have gone off the roof.
Just stupid. Yeah.
People are walking all over the
Yeah.
place. They're spending more time, doing a lot more time at home, renovating.
Yes.
Those kinds of things. Back to sort of some of the baking products
I know.
in the stores are going on. Never a problem.
I
The
know,
last number
I know.
20, 25 years, people weren't baking. Well, now they're baking.
I know.
It's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, I know, it's kind of cool. Like
Yeah.
I said, they never it was hard for the businesses to figure out what was going to go off the shelves, right?
Yeah.
They just didn't know what the pandemic
Well,
was going to bring.
right at the beginning when yeast went over.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Who the heck's baking
I
bread
know.
now? That's,
Yeah, I know, it's true.
That was
Yeah.
pretty good. So, any last wishes?
I just quickly, we could talk about the Kinsman Courts. I mean, as
Okay.
you see, I think it's getting almost to the 4th floor there. I mean, I think you see in the paper that Grant Lucan has
Yeah.
put out they're looking for applications now, and I think they're looking at a fall 2021 occupancy.
All right, excellent.
So, and our Touchwood build out at our Touchwood Park there, it's
Yeah.
we're well on pace still for an opening in March. So those two things are chugging along in our community. So.
Nice to see. Community's growing.
Yeah,
There's
for
all
sure.
sorts of changes happening, and that's really. Any words of wishes for the new year from the
Well,
council?
yeah, I mean it's been an exceptional. It's going to be an unusual Christmas, right? We all know that, and I just think I mean, I have family here and I have family out in the West Coast, and I mean, unfortunately with the rules, we're just not going to be able to see
Yeah.
them, and but I think we're making the right decision. I think this is what we have to do for the best of our community. But at the end of the day, I mean, I think we're a pretty resilient bunch, and I think 2021 is going to bring a lot more positive input into our community. So yeah, I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And that goes from all of us here at NAC TV. We wish you the best of the forthcoming year. Have a happy holiday season. Christmas hasn't gone, but Christmas is changing for us this year. And I think it's important that we remember to be kind to ourselves, to be kind to others, and if you have the technology, it does allow you to at least reach out at certain times or important times with your loved ones or your friends, and make sure you do that. And perhaps this is a time for reflection. We've seen lots of things happen, so get outside, take a walk, put on your skates if you can find an empty space and you can physically distance, and just make sure that you think about how the year's gone and what kinds of things it may have taught you and what you can apply in the year coming ahead. And remember that household only for Christmas, that is the safest thing. That is the thing that's being strongly recommended by our public health officials and certainly supported by our town and other organizations. But just best wishes Try and be happy. I always say play lots of Christmas carols loudly. Sing Christmas carols loudly. You don't have to be on key. Enjoy what you can of the season. And 2021 is going to be a different year again, because it will be a sort of a rebirthing year in some form or another, as we get the vaccines that have started to be rolled out. And by the fall of next year, we should be fine. So from all of us here, have a very Merry Christmas. See you next year.